Welcome back to another episode of the Adventures of a Disney Dad podcast. Chip and I are back, and this week we are taking a listener's suggestion and we are running with it when it comes to Disney planning. And our listener, Colin, suggests that we plan one of our own dream vacations with no limit or budget. And I'm really excited about that. I think what we're gonna keep it reasonable though. I think we're not doing the bungalows at the Polynesian or anything like that. Something that's reasonably obtainable that the average family, if you really saved up and wanted to go all out and blow it out on one trip, could you reasonably do it? To me, this would be like a once in every 5 years family vacation or something like that.
For sure, yeah.
And we're going to plan it out. We hope everybody had a great holiday. Marathon weekend's coming up. Best of luck to all the runners and everybody heading down to Walt Disney World. If you were down there between Christmas and New Year's Eve, God bless you. I hope you survived. The wait times were insane. And Chip, I want to touch on this real quick because I've had a lot of people ask me about this on social media. Do you tell people not to go during that week?
I suggest don't go during that week. I texted you. You and I were texting a little bit that week, and I said I would go down, but I probably wouldn't go to the park. And you said called me crazy and said all that. But I said I would just do it once, just to say I did. We had friends that went down. My kid's preschool teacher, and I said, "Hey, you've got to expect you're not going to do anything," and they got a lot accomplished. So I was pretty like, all right, good for them.
Here's the key, in my opinion. So the majority of people that are into Disney or in this Disney World bubble or a Disney adult, whatever you want to call yourselves, we understand that week between Christmas and New Year's is the busiest time of the year. But what people don't realize and forget is that the majority of people that go to Disney World don't plan at all. And the way you know that is true is you show up to a theme park in the afternoon, look at how many people are standing at the front gate to buy tickets. They just decided they were going to go to Disney that day and they showed up, no tickets, no nothing. They are just there. You can also tell the people that planned a little bit by the people that have their tickets. They may be staying at a Disney resort, but they don't know how to mobile order food. So they're standing in line for 30 minutes for an ice cream. Those are the people that, from my perspective, it's sad, right?
Yeah.
I'm bummed out that they are not likely to have a good vacation because they don't know any better. And you can blame them. You can do whatever you want to do. I don't choose to blame anybody for that. Disney's complicated, and I want people to know that it's complicated and get help, free travel agents, whatever. But if you're waiting 30 minutes for ice cream, you're probably the same people that are waiting 2 hours for alien swirling saucers, and you're going to have a bad time, right? Yeah. That is not an enjoyable experience. So a little planning goes a long way. I hope that anybody that went that week, you had a great trip, and you just got to go in knowing what your expectations are. And the same goes for spring break. And we're going to talk a lot about spring break prep over the next few weeks because we know a lot of people love to go during spring break. But the question I get asked all the time is do you tell your clients not to go? And I am adamant that my job is to help people plan vacations. I don't do this for the money aspect of it because you don't get paid much at all. It's free to you. Disney's paying us pennies. And I will tell you, if I think you're making a bad or uninformed decision, I'll tell you just so you know, this is what you should expect. And I'll leave it at that, right? I've had people, for example, that have wanted to use a specific cruise line, and I'll tell them I won't book it because I know that they're going to have a bad experience based on the feedback that I've had from clients, and I won't book it anymore because I don't want you to be mad at me if you have a really bad experience, right?
Yeah, and
I want you to have a good vacation.
I'd rather you be honest than beat around the bush and then I have a bad time. And I'm with you on the listen, if you got to go, let us set the expectations for you. Yeah, and we can make it as good as you want, but it's not going to be everything we suggest on a non-peak week. The week before, the week before Christmas, I was shocked at how low the wait times were.
Right. And so if you're a first-time family going and you're booking your vacation with me, I'm going to tell you if it's a bad time to go. And the reality is, like, I've had a lot of people say, well, like I'm a teacher. I can only go on spring break or Christmas break or whatever. It's like, by all means, if you want to go that week, we can make it happen, but it's going to be expensive and you're not going to get nearly as much done as you would a different time of the week. So if you have those expectations going in, you'll have a good vacation. If you go into it thinking that you're going to be able to jump on everything and skip all the lines, and it's just a different deal. But it looked to me like the crowds are starting to pipe down a little bit. We know all the runners are coming in the next couple of days, and I expect the wait times are going to drop quite a bit. So for those people that are going in the next week or so, don't freak out too much.
Yeah,
But all
fun.
that to say, just made it. Disney is all about managing expectations.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the gist of our podcast. That's what we repeat every single week, and hopefully that's the takeaway. Now let's get into the fun stuff, Chip. We're planning our dream vacation here, okay? So let's talk really quickly. Let's start with room category, because I think that sometimes you plan your vacation based on your dates, and I don't think we're going to pick specific dates on this because there's so many different dates that you can go with. But a lot of people start with dates and then they'll select their resort based on that. I want to switch our mindset a little bit and talk about room types. A lot of people immediately jump to the standard room, but like if you've got a bigger family like Chip and I have, I've got 5, Chip's got 1 million. We may not stay in a standard room, and multiple standard rooms can be the equivalent of a 2-bed villa or whatever. So Chip, in your ideal vacation, what room are you staying in?
We're probably going to 2-bedroom villa. Now, listen, the grand villas. If you got some time,
we're not doing the grand villas, man.
No. Listen. I'm with you. I'm just saying, like, we watched the videos on time, and ideally the one we'd love to stay in is Old Key West, and we will eventually because it's the least amount of points and all that. But the 2-bedroom is where we're gonna go because just it's convenient. We're all under the same roof. We're not 2 different rooms. That's where we're going.
I've had a good friend of mine. Shout out to Sarah if she listens. That I went to law school with. That she reached out and she's basically trying to decide between a 2-bed villa and 2 standard rooms. And so the one thing I was explaining to her is there's really a basic framework for whether or not you want to stay in a 2-bed villa or in a standard room. And it's, do you need the kitchen? And do you need like space in between the rooms? So like if you're on a multi-generational trip where you've got the grandparents that need their own space and you and your kids want your own space, having that living room area in a 2-bedroom villa is clutch.
Yep.
If you're a family that has allergies or specific food restrictions, or you just want to cook a couple meals and save a little bit of money, that's where we are. The 2-bed villa is perfect because you get the full kitchen. And so to me, like if you don't need any of those things, if you're not going to cook your meals, you're fine with grandma and grandpa being in the room next door, then maybe you save a little bit of money and you go with 2 standard rooms. Sometimes the cost evens out, right?
Yeah,
2 standard rooms could be the same or more expensive than a 2-bed villa. That's the case a lot at the Polynesian, right?
Yeah.
The 1 standard room is like $850 a night, and you can usually get a 2-bed villa for cheaper than 2 of those. But for me, I'm also staying in a 2-bed villa because the ones that we've stayed in have just been fantastic. And I love being able to order groceries, have breakfast, pack a lunch, and then you basically just eat 1 meal at the parks.
And a lot of, well, I won't say a lot of them. A couple of them have 3 bathrooms, and that might be a key thing if it's grandma, grandpa, and maybe an aunt or uncle that are with you. And that way they're not sharing a bathroom with the little kids or with their mom and dad or whatever it is. So that's also
the washer factor. And dryer.
The washer.
Let's not forget about that.
It was running constantly. It runs constantly.
Yeah, it makes it so like if you got a longer vacation, you don't have to pack as much, which is really great. Also, so I think we both agree we're staying in a 2-bed villa. That automatically means we're staying in the deluxe category. And frankly, if budget is not a huge issue, we're in the deluxe category anyway. So the next question is, which resort, Chip, are you staying in?
So as you were talking, it's processing through my head. Am I looking Monorail? Am I looking Epcot? And I couldn't stop thinking about Stormalong Bay. So I'm staying at the Beach Club. and that's
I think that's a solid choice.
because
I really, you can't go wrong on this discussion.
you can't. And my one of my big things is we like taking a day in the pool is a key factor. My kids want to watch the slide.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're staying at Stormalong Bay at Beach Club, they can watch the slide and then they can swim around the pool. They can go build a sandcastle. And that was probably the big key factor. Like, and I told you before we started this, I have no idea where we're going to stay. And I just started thinking my kids first. What are we thinking? And Beach Club's it. That's where we're going to go. We're going to go to Beach Club for a week.
I think that's a really great choice, and I don't think that you can go wrong. But I think if you're a family, it changes the dynamic a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because my mind immediately went, oh, I'm going to the Island Tower at the Polynesian.
Well,
But I feel like it's a little less kid friendly, a little less. And I've had clients experience that they're supposedly some days they're not letting Island Tower and main Polynesian building guests use each other's pool.
Really? I was going to ask that actually. I had a buddy ask that question. I was going to ask you off the record. So
I don't know for sure, but like because it's been hit or miss so far. But I have had one client tell me that they tried to use the main building pool for their kids and they weren't allowed. I don't know if that could be because of like the week that they were there, which was between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah, that probably makes more sense. Yeah,
different animal. But that said, they're strict at the deluxe pool, so it's definitely a possibility. But I think I'm going to go back to, and my wife would give a different answer. But I'm going to go back to we're gonna go to the Riviera. I think.
Okay.
I think the Topolino's Terrace breakfast is the best character meal at Disney. My kids absolutely loved it. I think the location is perfect. The pool is really, really great. It's probably not the best deluxe pool, but it's a great deluxe pool.
It's a great view for a pool too.
Great view, and like I think it's got a great slide. So I think to me that's the answer that I would go with. Now, if it were my wife, she may go. I think she would probably go Polynesian. That's my guess. But there's a few that are immediately crossed off though. Like the Contemporary's getting crossed off. Bay Lake Tower's getting crossed off.
But and that's where you got to look. Bay Lake Tower might be because it's getting redone. My wife might be more, but she doesn't like that contemporary vibe. And also the Grand's probably getting marked off too because she feels it's too uppity, which I actually loved it in there. Like we sat there and listened to the pianist for a long time. And, but she, you know what else she does not like? She loves it at Christmas time. It would be, Wilderness Lodge. She'll nix that off right now.
I think Wilderness Lodge gets the nix. Animal Kingdom Lodge is going to get the nix. And that's because like in our experience at Animal Kingdom Lodge, there's just way too much distance between the stuff that you want to do at the resort. The resort is too big.
Yeah, it is. Unless you have the best room, and that's hard to get. I mean, there's only so many of them.
If you get lucky and you've got a room like close to the lobby, then you're in a different boat. But I'm telling you, like we timed it one day, and it was like a 9-minute walk from the lobby to our room, and like that. I know that like that may sound petty, but we all complained about it. Everybody in my family, my in-laws, everybody complained about it.
Yeah.
It was just really far away. So I think I would go with the Riviera, but I think there's a number of different selections you could have that are really, really solid. But there's a few resorts that I think immediately get the nix. The next is like, since you're paying up for the room experience, I think it's a given because even without like an open-ended budget, I think you and I agree on things like Memory Maker is a must.
Correct.
I think that's one of the easiest add-ons for anybody on a Disney vacation. Like you should just plan on that $185 being part of your trip.
I wish that was the price for the cruise because I just looked at that to add on to our cruise and I told my wife what it was. She's like, "Really?" And I said, "But we're on a 7-day cruise, so you might as well do it." So
So the second one is we're adding Park Hopper.
Yep.
I think for most people, Park Hopper is a benefit that they should consider. But you and I, Chip, I think philosophically we agree that you'd rather have more park days than add park hopper, if that's your decision process.
Correct. Yeah,
Right?
we experienced that the last time was we probably had too many days at the park, and we could have been all right with less, and we'd been fine.
Yeah. So I think like if you're choosing between going from 4 days to 5 days of park tickets or getting 4 days with park hopper, I would go with the 5 days of park tickets. And the cost difference there is just not much. So I would stick with more park tickets than I would instead
Oh,
of
I
park
was I
hopper.
was looking at it the other way. I was probably thinking the other way of going less, but that's just but that you also got to think that's who we are. We would rather enjoy the resort a little bit more.
Mhm.
Um, you know what? It honestly all depends on your group as well. With my mom and my stepdad, it was like one of those where I think they were kind of burnt out a little bit of parks. But a couple days we didn't even go in till 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night. So
Well, when you've got no budget like we do here, you can do the park hopper. So the biggest thing though, and Chip, and I think you and I are going to agree on this one. If you've got no budget, you're doing it. You're doing one day of a VIP tour, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
listen,
think
and going with that, I know there's no budget, but if I'm doing a day of the VIP tour, I'm getting park hopper, so we can
oh
park
yeah.
hop a little bit. But the other thing is, I might cut out 2 days of going into the parks in general, just because we've done the main attractions.
Yeah, and I think that the VIP tour affords you that opportunity that you don't have to go into the parks every day of your vacation because you're going to get everything done in one shot. And I'm probably going to book like 9 hours instead of 7 hours of the VIP tour.
Yeah,
And the big key that I've found in booking the VIP tour lately is you want to make sure that you're getting the afternoon start time. That is
yeah.
clutch. Because if you get the morning start time and you're done at like 5 p.m., you don't get the fireworks seating. You want to finish at the fireworks so that you get the VIP fireworks seating. That is absolutely clutch because the dessert package, that's basically a value of like the cost of the dessert package, which is $160 a person.
Yeah.
So you're really getting a lot more value by doing it that way. So we're definitely doing a VIP tour one day, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think Chip, I think like when I did it with my family, doing 4 parks would have been a pushing it. If you're doing the VIP tour on this kind of a trip, are you going to go for it and try and do all 4 parks? Like when we did it with our family, we did 3, and I feel like we definitely didn't get to do everything in all 3 parks. So what would you think?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I would definitely lean towards 3. If we're extending it 2 hours, maybe. Um, but I also don't want to feel rushed. So
Yeah,
maybe
it's
three,
basically do
three.
you want to try and get Flight of Passage, Safari, and Everest done? And I think that I would probably lean towards just doing the other 3 parks and then having a day where you go to Animal Kingdom, like a
You know what?
relaxed day.
You know what's crazy? I might lean towards not going to Epcot if I'm
Oh,
well. But listen, my kids do not like Guardians, and that's the big ride over
ah.
there.
And you know what? I'll tell you too. In our experience, Epcot spent a lot of the VIP tour time because you had to walk so far.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that might be. I love Guardians. My wife, we love Soren, and it's just I don't know. Those are the two that would it's either Animal Kingdom or Epcot that we're cutting out, but we're definitely going to Hollywood Studios and we're definitely going to Magic Kingdom. We're ending at Magic Kingdom.
The
Um,
way and this is the way we did ours. I think starting at Hollywood Studios, getting everything you want done, and then seeing where you are time wise is probably the way to go.
yeah,
And we felt like we had enough time to get to Epcot because we did all of Hollywood Studios in like 2 hours, like literally everything in 2 hours. So then we had time to go to Epcot. But then when we went to Epcot, we were literally sitting in the seats in Soren and it broke down. Had to get out. My kids had never ridden it before. Luckily, Seth looked us up with a fast, lightning lane for the next day to do it, and the kids had a blast. But like, we spent a lot of time, all going and doing that to not get to ride it. Then we went over, to try and do Guardians. It was just like a little bit of a hot mess there.
Yeah.
And you spend a lot of time, driving, finding parking, and then walking through the park. Even though they put you up close, it's just a different experience. So so we've got our park days figured out in terms we're doing park days most days of the vacation. We're gonna spend a lot of time at the resorts, probably not rope dropping because you just don't need to because we're buying multi-pass, we're buying the individual lightning lanes,
Oh yeah.
we're doing those things. Let's talk a little bit about dining. Like if you have no budget, or even if you do have a budget, Chip, like what are some of the dining spots that you're like, if you're not thinking about the money, you'd really, really want to hit with your family?
I think we're gonna eat in Royals at Cinderella's Royal Table. I think that's the number one. And it doesn't have to be like it, I want it to be the day my daughters go to Bippity Boppity Boutique. So whether they go there first thing in the morning, we go to like a brunch or late breakfast, early lunch, whatever, or we go in the evening. I just think that's the one day we do that. That's my number one. Number two is that we're going to go over to the Riviera, go up and eat at oh my gosh, what
Topolino's.
Topolino's, and I would go to breakfast probably more than dinner because the dinner menu just doesn't seem to be our kind of vibe.
You want the characters too. You don't get the
Yeah,
characters at dinner there, for sure.
and probably my last one, and this is just because it's a dream. Well, I have two that we're going to do. Is number one, my dream one is I want to do California Grill. I've never done it. Would love to do it. And then we're going to do Hoop-de Doo.
I like it. I like it. I was not expecting you to say that. I like it. I like it. So those are really good points. I think Topolino Ceres, it's an expensive character breakfast. That would definitely be number one on my list. Number two would probably be California Grill too. Like we've done it, and I just think it's a really great meal, and the view is really great. The problem is like kids don't appreciate it the way that
No.
adults do, and they don't appreciate the fireworks viewing from there as much as adults do. Like I don't know. I know that there are families that love to sit on the beach at the Polynesian and watch the fireworks, or sit at the Contemporary and watch from the observation decks. My kids, like, I just feel like don't care when they're that far away. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't hit the same. So to me, if I'm watching the fireworks, like I want to be on Main Street watching the fireworks. So I wouldn't necessarily do it for that, but it's a great meal. I would
Yeah.
probably also have Steakhouse 71 on my short list.
Oh yeah.
And, Chip, when we get beyond that, then you start thinking about what experiences are you going to try and do outside of the VIP tour. You mentioned Bibbidi Boppity Boutique. I think that would be one that would definitely be on my list. Um, Doing Cinderella's Royal Table during the fireworks, I think would be a lot of fun. I've never been able to do that.
Yeah.
That would be a fun dinner. What other experiences, though, if any, would really stick out to you as something that you would like to try and do on a trip like that?
There's only one other, well, there's one thing that as soon as you said it, I was like, so my son is 9 years old and he loves to fish. So I think going out and fishing one day would probably be one of the things we'd love to do, or taking the boat out for the fireworks, getting a pontoon boat
Mm-hmm.
and going out for the fireworks to do that, or doing the, I don't know, the Marine One or whatever it is. Um, that would probably be the two things that I think would top the trip for that way. It gets my daughters get Bippity Boppity Boutique. My son gets to go out on the boat or go fishing or whatever. And it excites them. I think
Yeah.
that's the big thing.
There's so
I don't
many
know.
other experiences that our kids
Yeah.
can't do. And that's important to keep in mind too. Like our kids can't do Keys to the Kingdom because they're too young.
Yeah.
They can't. The one that would really stick out to me, if I could, would be Caring for Giants, which is a very affordable tour. It's only $40 a person.
Yeah.
But our kids can't do that because they're too young.
They got to be
Starlight
6.
Safari.
Yeah.
I would absolutely book Starlight Safari and do this, the
Oh, yeah.
Savannah tour at night. Our kids are too young for that. So like those are things that like if you've got the budget, man, those would be at the top of the list for sure. Keys to the Kingdom in particular, like if your kids are into Disney in general, I think would be a lot of fun. The one thing that like really sticks out to me that I keep thinking about is like if budget's not a concern, I'm probably using the minivan lifts, which are a lot more comfortable and can get you around a lot more. And so I'm probably opening up my dining options at other resorts a lot more, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um, so like it makes it easier to do Topolino's breakfast or go to Boma at Animal Kingdom Lodge
Oh,
because
so good.
you're not as worried about like, well, I got to take a bus to Animal Kingdom and then I got to take a bus to Animal Kingdom Lodge, and like that nixes half of those dining reservations for me anyway. Um, Artist Point, for example, I'm not doing Storybook dining because it's a pain to get there, right?
Correct. Yeah.
You have more options. The other thing that I'm really, really going to do if we've got no budget is I'm spending a day at Universal with Express Pass, and
Yeah.
that may rub some of my Disney fans the wrong way. But if you can spend one day at Universal with Express Pass, you can do it all. And
You're not wrong
it's
on that. I didn't even think about that. That definitely,
or do the
I
Universal VIP tour. That
yeah, that might be a
that
way to
makes it even
go.
easier.
Yeah.
You book after May, and you could even do one day at Epic, do a day at the other parks, and do the VIP tour or whatever. Like that would be a lot of fun from my perspective because you can really do all of what I would call old Universal in a day and have a really really great vacation. So
Now
I
I
think
got a
that
question. I got one more question for you,
yeah,
Matt. If you're coming down the day of, let's say you get there, you're in Orlando by noon.
I'm not
I
doing
know.
it. I know what
Are
you're
you?
gonna ask. I'm not doing it.
Are you going to the
I'm
water
not
park?
doing it. Nope. Nope. And Chip, like, we should touch on this a little bit, and it goes back to when this promotion first got announced, and Chip and I started talking about it. For those that don't know, in 2025, on your check-in day, you get free water park access at Walt Disney World. And the biggest gripe that we had was the water park closes at like 5 o'clock, and usually there's only one of them open.
There's only one open. Yeah.
Right now, I mean, granted, they had a cold spell or whatever,
None
and
of them
some
were
days it's
open.
just been closed. But like the first day it was open of 2025, they closed at 5 o'clock. And I'm like, this is the first day of this promotion, and you're closing it at 5 o'clock. Unless you get to the resort super early, dump your crap and run, it's pointless. It's
Yeah.
pointless. You need to do a split stay. Maybe that's what you do is you book the Universal VIP tour. You stay over at the Hard Rock or Sapphire Falls or somewhere like
Yeah.
over
Portofino, maybe.
there,
Yeah.
Portofino, and you spend a night or two at Universal, do their VIP tour, come over to Disney and you check in and spend the day at the water park, and you go from there. I don't. You can. I feel like at that point though, you're better off buying the Park Hopper plus sports option, which is
Yeah.
like an extra $30 a person, and you can have water park access whenever you want. I don't know. That to me, that promo really irritates me. If you can't tell already.
You know what? I was sitting here thinking, like, I know he's gonna get. I know what he's gonna think. But if you're one of those people that does maybe fly in late, and you're just like, we look at money in different ways, but obviously there's no option. No, money's not really an object here. But if I were to fly in late, I'm more likely to stay maybe at the hotel or at the Hyatt right there at MCO versus and then check it in the next day. But that's just me and my family,
Mhm.
just because we want to get to bed as quick as we possibly can and then start our day the next morning.
Yeah,
But
I'm not a fly in late guy. Like I have a client that's flying in tomorrow that's landing at 9:10 p.m. and staying at the Island Tower. I'm like, man, like it's an expensive night at a hotel
yeah,
to arrive there at 9:10 p.m. That said, the next day you're right there. You are literally in the magic. So
it's true.
I can understand that. But like for me, we typically arrive like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then by the time you get to your resort, man, you're tired. You've had a travel day. I'm not trying to drop all my stuff and run to a water park. Now I'll drop my stuff and run to Hollywood Studios, which makes it even worse according to my
well,
wife. But
well,
that's a
but
different
I don't
story.
think it's as bad because guess what? You don't have to do. You don't have to change into a swimsuit. You don't have to get all your wet clothes, and you got to move it. And honestly, getting to the water parks, there's no direct way to get there.
And
You have to get off
you
a
know what?
bus.
And this really got under my skin because I was on Threads the other day. Somebody responded to me and said, "Just drop all your stuff and go." And I was like, I would say probably 90% of the time plus your room is not ready until 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
So even if you got there and you're like, I want to drop my stuff, you're going into the bathroom to get your bathing suit and stuff out of your luggage just to give it back to Bell Services. Like that's not, to me, that's not a vacation. I can understand wanting to maximize it and get all the benefits. And if my kids really, really want to do it, then I'll do it. But man, that's not fun to me.
yeah.
So that's me personally. I'd rather find other ways to plan the trip to get that benefit, like a split stay or whatever. And overall, I just think that from my perspective, it's a fake benefit. It's just not like Disney knows not many people are going to use it. It's very similar to the way that they give away the mini golf.
Yeah,
They
nobody
give
uses
everybody
it.
free rounds of mini golf because nobody goes to play mini golf.
Not
That's the
until
reality.
not, and then you can only go till 4. So you're going, and they open at 10. So you're there when it's the hottest part of the day. Like nobody wants to be
Man,
outside. Listen,
nobody's playing mini golf.
my dad owned a putt putt. Nobody was at the putt putt during the during the day.
And if you like to play mini golf and you like to use that perk, by all means, more power to you. But Disney knows that it's not many people are using it, and
No, they're just not taking advantage
that's
of
why
it.
they don't
Yeah.
mind giving it away. So anyway, that's gonna wrap it up. Colin, thanks so much for the awesome idea in the comments on our last episode. Again, if you could like, rate, and review the podcast and leave us a comment, leave us some questions. We really appreciate it. We have so much fun interacting with you guys, and this episode to me, this was a blast. Like I want to try and make this trip a reality at this point. I need to get and try and find some discounts for a 2-bed villa. But we really appreciate it, and thanks so much. And your continued support means a lot to us. So thank you again. And on behalf of Chip and I, we'll see you guys in the parks.
We'll see when we see you.
All right.